Magic the Gathering just spoiled a new variant of Shadowborn Apostle for the upcoming set of Murders at Karlov Manor, and we are gathered here today to look at the card and brainstorm together some ideas to build a deck around this card. Welcome back everyone to another installment of Think Outside the Deck Box. Let's look briefly at the MTG history. Up until today we had 5 cards that allowed us to play any number of cards named like the 5 you see here. The very first one was released in 2004 in the set 5th Dawn and was called Relentless Rats, and got bigger for each Relentless Rat you had on the battlefield. Around 10 years later, in M14, Shadowborn Apostle was brought into the game for everyone to enjoy. For the Apostles you pay 1 black and sacrifice 6, which are all named Shadowborn Apostle, and put a demon creature onto the battlefield. And this deck can get quite powerful, searching for the most evil demons, while you probably win with a combo or Liliana's Contract. Similar to Relentless Rats, we had Rat Colony in the Dominaria set, which just gained +1/+0 for each other rat you controlled. So it doesn't even have to be a rat colony, but you can have any number of rat colonies in your deck, boosting each other. Another year later, we got Persistent Petitioners, where you have like a mill strategy going here, trying to tap them and milling out your opponents. And 2 years later we got a red version of the Shadowborn Apostle variant, which was Dragon's Approach, which allowed you to deal damage and search for a dragon card and put it onto the battlefield, similar to the Shadowborn Apostle searching for demons. But now, the card for today, which we're gonna look at, is the Slime Against Humanity, a sorcery that reads: create a 0/0 green Ooze token with trample, and you put X +1/+1 counters on it, equal to X being the number of oozes in exile and graveyard, and cards named Slimes Against Humanity, +2. So the first time you cast it, and you don't have anything else in your graveyard exile, you get a 2/2 slime, put the sorcery in your graveyard, and your next Slime Against Humanity will create a 3/3 trample ooze token, and so on. I like that it also counts any oozes, so this deck will probably play around ooze commanders and ooze cards. So for me, 3 ooze commanders come to mind. First one being Hive, second one being Slurk, and thirdly Umori. Let's look at the progenitor ooze first. It has Storm as a 2/2 for 5 and is not legendary if it's a token, and it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter for each ooze you control. So it doesn't even have to be itself, but it also counts your Slime Against Humanity oozes on the battlefield. So the idea will be to reduce the mana costs of the Slime Against Humanity so you can slap multiples onto the battlefield in one turn, and then lastly slap your commander onto the battlefield, copying even more ooze and versions of itself, getting bigger and bigger, and then just go for the kill and slap your opponent with big oozes. I like the fact that there is a uncommon ooze as well who can be a commander, Slurk, the all-ingesting, costs 6 and enters the battlefield with 5 +1/+1 counters, and whenever Slurk or any creature you control dies, if it had +1/+1 counters on it, you can put 1 +1/+1 counter on each of your creature that already has a +1/+1 counter, and the Slime Against Humanity also adds +1/+1 counters onto the 0/0 ooze token, so all your oozes will always gain +1/+1 counters off of any oozes dying. And the fact that this is an uncommon allows you to also play Pauper Ooze now, since Slime Against Humanity is a common in the next set. And I bet it won't even be bad, since these creatures can get quite big quite fast. Lastly, we have Umori the Collector, who costs 2, and then hybrid black-green twice. Playing him as a companion will be quite hard, since the Slime Against Humanity is a sorcery. That would mean that your commander would also have to be a sorcery or a creature. That just doesn't work really. But you can still play Umori as your commander, and then it does not have the companion restriction, and it reduces your sorcery spells by 1 probably when you put him onto the battlefield. And then since he's black and green, he also allows you to play cards from the color black. I like the idea and the fact that you can just put one of the 3 commanders at the front of your deck, slap in like 60 Slime Against Humanities in and another 39 lands and you're finished. But we're gonna look at some other cards that synergize well with the new card. Let's look at one of the stronger cards, namely the Thrumming Stone. This legendary artifact grants your spells Ripple 4, which is only really relevant for your Slime Against Humanity cards. And whenever you cast one of these, you reveal the top 4 cards and look for any cards that have the same name, and you're allowed to cast them again. And these spells that you cast again also have Ripple 4. So one spell can actually ripple through your entire deck, allowing you to cast all your Slimes Against Humanity, which is why the Thrumming Stone is a card that your opponents should and have to destroy before you cast all your cards. But we want to win somehow, and why not with the Thrumming Stone? Another wonderful inclusion in the Slime deck would be the Spellweaver Helix. It's a 3-mana artifact that exiles 2 of our sorceries when it enters the battlefield. And we don't mind exiling our Slimes Against Humanity, since they also look for Slime Against Humanity cards in your exile. And whenever we cast any more Slimes Against Humanity, we are going to copy another one through the Spellweaver Helix. So each of the Slime Against Humanity cards now counts double. Another beautiful card I think is the Nantuko Shrine. It's an enchantment for 1 and 2 green that reads: whenever a player plays a spell, they put X/1/1 swirl tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the amount of cards in all graveyards with the same name. So this also counts for your opponents. They play a Soul Ring and maybe one has been destroyed, they get 1 squirrel. But for you it will be quite devastating. You cast 1 Slime Against Humanity, have 5 in your graveyard, and you create another 5 squirrels. So this card can get out of hand quite fast. Biogenic Ooze is another one that should not be forgotten. A 3-mana and another green and a green for a 2/2 Ooze that enters the battlefield, creating another 2/2 green Ooze. And at the beginning of your end step, you put a +1/+1 counter on each Ooze you control. So all of our Oozes get bigger at each of our end steps. And for 4 mana, it can create another 2/2 Ooze token. Now let's look at some ramp cards. One beautiful card from Time Spiral is the Locket of Yesterdays, which reduces the amount of mana you pay for spells by 1 for each card with the same name. So if you have 2 Slime Against Humanity cards in your graveyard, all your Slime Against Humanity cards cost only 1 green now. Primal Amulet is a 4-mana artifact that reduces your instant sorcery spell costs by 1. For each instant sorcery spell you cast, you put a charge counter on it, and if there are 4 or more counters, you transform it into a land that produces 1 mana of any color and copies any sorcery or instant spell that you use to cast a sorcery or instant with, meaning you cast the Slime Against Humanity, paying with the Primal Wellspring, and automatically copy it. Cloud Key is a 3-mana artifact that lets you choose sorcery and reduces all your Slime Against Humanity cards by 1. Semblance Anvil is similar. You exile 1 of your Slime Against Humanities and all sorcery spells are reduced by 2. Some nice card draw cards for a Slime Against Humanity deck would be Garruk's Uprising, probably letting you draw a card when it enters the battlefield. The Trample clause is negligible, since our Slime Against Humanity slimes already have Trample. But hey, none of our commander has Trample, so there's that. And whenever any creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield, we draw a card. And lastly, Elemental Bond straight up lets you draw a card whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield on your side. Now I hope you enjoyed this video, and now I do want to hear from you. Which cards did I forget that synergize well with the new Slime Against Humanity card? Let us know in the comments below. I wish you a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!